Welcome to the rise, to the dawn of a new Morgenröte, the age of post-morality, because narcissism is something that must be overcome. To do this, to overcome narcissism, which holds humanity as a whole and individuals as single persons back. I believe mankind, when we mirror the development of an individual human being, I believe when we look at the large scale of humanity, the 100,000 years old history, we are very young still, and we are stuck in separation, individuation. And what holds us back is narcissism. To overcome this and get into the next stage of adulthood for both the individual, the individuating individual, as well as mankind as a whole, we must understand many things. Of course, mankind is coming from Africa, right? So this is the motherland. Yeah, but it is very necessary to overcome narcissism. A lot of sacrifice. It is necessary to sacrifice. It is necessary to self-reflect and go through pain. It means to self-sacrifice to a certain degree. Because the initial thought behind this philosophy is that every defensive reaction, every action based on a negative emotion, any hateful action, will be processed by life. So if the parents reject a child and make the child feel guilty or ashamed, or they idealize the child and divorce it from reality and make it a dysfunctional narcissist that in the future will look for people resembling this parent that idealizes them, and these narcissists will then try to control other people and decide over other people, just like we see in global politics. A narcissist decides over environment, over the world, and over the destiny of many people, because he don't know. He instinctively does not know boundaries. He lives in this fantasy of omnipotent godhood. Alright, so now to overcome this, we must be able to sacrifice, because these negative, primitive defense reactions that exist already in the world. It happened with the first sin was that Cain slew Abel. The same thing is with what happened in paradise, the knowing of good and evil. The thing is, we have to process this because it is an ongoing trauma recompulsion in humanity. It's like a repeating betrayal trauma, originating both in neglection or violence, parental neglection, parental violence, tyranny, or idealization, which both leads to trauma recompulsion that never ends. Except we sacrifice ourselves, part of ourselves, and to do this, forgiveness is necessary. In other words, we take the narcissistic abuse, the tyranny of the narcissist, the self-absorption, the dysfunction, the hate, the projection, whatever it is, and we do not react in a primitive, defensive reaction, because this would be a trauma recompulsion, and it would mean that mankind will stay in these patterns forever. And this is also, again, what we see in modern politics at the moment. Narcissistic, primitive defense mechanisms, and I can't go further on this because it would get too complicated. So sacrifice is necessary to overcome this. We also have to understand that narcissism is reactionary, just like technology. Okay? So science is progressive. Individuation of a person is progressive. It means to develop yourself beyond yourself, to work beyond yourself, to separate from mother and father and become something completely different, to go away from it, to become individuated. Okay? Narcissism is reactionary. It wants to go back to an idealized state, to go back into the womb, to go back to a mother-father relationship, to a dependent relationship. It's reactionary. And technology is the same. Technology helps us to go back into a fantasy and to be dysfunctional and incapable, but it promises us the false promise of omnipotence. And this is narcissism in itself. So, science requires human beings to engage with the chaos of nature and the world around us and find patterns in it and give meaning to the world. This is why science needs human effort, patience, commitment, compassion, and to create something, to generate something, while technology is a regression of humanity, is narcissistic, is reactionary. We see this when I feed ChatGPT with ideas of my philosophy. Wherever it uses the patterns and the ideas that I get from the chaos of life around me, so it uses my originality that emerges through chaos and pattern recognition within myself, it can make my ideas shine because it uses my originality. But whenever there are gaps and it tries to bridge these gaps, it lets me down and shows me that it does not really understand. It is not really on the same page. It is not able to create innovation, to recognize patterns in the chaos that have not been recognized before. It is not original itself, and as such, it's also psychopathic or narcissistic. It can mimic, it can use my ideas, steal my originality, and make it shine, but it cannot generate it. All right. So we have to understand a lot of things. Yeah, so narcissism is something that has to be overcome, and mankind is just in a very early age of this separation individuation. We have to also understand, let me give you an analogy. Let's see the life of the Vikings as a pre-moral time, a tribal time where there still were virtues in the world. So the people said it's a virtue to be cunning, it's a virtue to be honest, it's a virtue to be strong, or whatever. But everything was legal and nothing was right or wrong in a moral sense. In other words, if somebody pushes you over or somebody over and establishes his authority, his ideas and values, this was not illegal and it was not wrong. Everybody can do this. And it's not wrong or right. It is. People accept everything as legal and they will accept it in some way, all right? But the people have to live with the consequences. In other words, if somebody pushes you over, you just lick your wounds, wait some time, create a cunning strategy, because cunning is a virtue, and then your desire for vengeance, for revenge, is not seen bad in any way. You just can push over this person then as well, and the people will accept it and say this is, nothing is illegal. In other words, power is exercised freely. In Greece, in the ancient Greek time, we were still pre-moral times, because but we were already going towards morality. The Greek people said, not everything is legal, but most things are legal. And not everything is, it's behavior can be judged, but not in an immediate moral way, like this is right or this is wrong because it is aligned with this rule or it is against this rule. So the Greek believed in consensus and truth, by the way. They had consensus and truth, something that we don't have today anymore. Bear in mind. So they believed in truth and they had a consensus about what this is. But they rather judged the outcome. And this is the birth of morality. They said, you can do what you want, no matter how. It can be cunning, it can be any strategy, anything is okay, what you do. What decides whether it's right or wrong is the outcome. Is it good for what? For the people, for the consensus of what they are, for their identity, for their life. All right, so what is good for the police, the people, the Greece, whatever is beautiful, the arts, the life, the love, that is what is right. Whatever is good for it is right. So they had a slower judgment than we have, so they had to wait for the outcome of things, and then they could judge it. But this was already giving birth to morality. And this is what then is our day and age today, is the age of morality, where things can be immediately judged, create feelings of shame or anxiety if you are grandiose enough to do a leap of faith. So let me give you my initial thought about this. Let's be honest. Let's go to a thought experiment real quick. Imagine the place you want to be in the world right now, and how would life be perfect for you, or you would feel in a perfect, peaceful state, or in a fulfilled state. The first thing to admit is you are far away from this. Except you're living in a narcissistic fantasy. Then congratulations, you made it. That's okay, that's fine. But the next step is, what leap of faith would it take for you? What kind of courage would you need to do the steps necessary to live this life? And to do this, there is a lot of anxiety that holds you back because of the moral system. Because you are afraid of the judgment of everybody around you, that what you do is wrong, or that you fail and you're full of shame and anxiety. This is why the grandiosity that the child, the innocent child, needs to do all the right and wrong steps in life is incapacitated by the moral system. Therefore, we have to overcome also the moral system to find back to a form of innocent exploration and expression of ourselves. So, how do we synthesize this new understanding and expression of our identity and move towards post-morality? I think the way is to understand the view of the tribal Viking view. Everything is legal, everything is right. We just have to be able to exercise this power. The second is to understand the Greek pre-moral view, where we rather look at the outcomes of actions to judge the behavior of people. Also to understand the modern today age of morality, and understand that Jesus saw this and knew that we need forgiveness and the will to sacrifice, and as Nietzsche said, the will to work beyond ourselves to overcome all of this. So we need to synthesize out of looking back in the past and in the present. We need to integrate all these views in ourselves and overcome morality by doing this. And this is not a small task, to be honest. I'm not telling you we have to become immoralists. No. We have to embody all the three stages that it has taken in mankind to lead to where we are now. And we need to understand that the age of morality is dysfunctional because narcissism and psychopathy undermine it and corrupt everything. We thought that if we just keep on riding this wave that the Greek started and it emerged into our age of morality today, we thought that this will lead to a better world. But the outcome is what we see. We see technology, we see psychopathy, we see narcissism rule the world right now because of the reduction of the world as efficiency. So psychopathy is efficiency. It's a calculating and efficient way to make the world a slave to us, to exploit everything, to put the goal to extract supply as the highest goal and do this in an efficient way. This coupled with narcissism as a reactionary impulse that wants to go back to a place where we cannot go back. We cannot go back to childhood. We cannot go back to paradise. We cannot go back to where life emerged in Africa. Maybe I will go back there. We have to go forward. We can also not go back to the age of the Vikings, or we cannot go back to the age of the Greek. We have to go forward. We have to individuate, okay? Therefore, I say unto you, morality and narcissism is something to be overcome by the will to sacrifice, to self-reflect and work beyond ourselves, whatever this means, okay? So we need to forgive the primitive, negative, bad introject that the narcissist has projected unto us, and let it die to give birth to the unknown. And the unknown is the view and the synthesis of post-moral values and identities and personalities. Oh, it's green. Is it? It's not. Bro, this person gaslit me. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we get there. It takes strong personalities. It takes a lot of discernment to be strong enough to overcome this. And we will have to call out criminals as pathologic sick people, and we have to call out sick people as criminals and not accept this. But fuck, isn't it green, bro? So, yeah. I'm not excluding anyone from this development, because excluding others, again, is narcissistic and psychopathic in itself. But I know, so I include them and invite them to follow me. But I know they can't, you know. They can't. So yeah, narcissism has to be overcome. Morality is undermined and corrupted by narcissists, okay? They use the moral high ground for themselves, and at the same time using your true moral behavior, which means you live like Jesus, against you, because now they can predict your behavior. All right, so morality must be overcome. Thank you for listening.